My name is Dee Mirvong. I am a EP specialist with the Department of Health down in Bennington County, and I'm happy to introduce my co-presenter today, Martha Cornwall, who is a PA and also a Medical Reserve Corps Director for our unit. We're happy to have you here today, and we hope you find this presentation enlivening and enriching for you.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here today. In addition to being a PA and working at the Medical Reserve Corps, I also work in my municipality in Shasberry and a lot of things. I sit on the select board, and so spend a lot of time thinking about a lot of these things. And so we wanted to bring you this topic today. We wanted to talk a little bit about what the Medical Reserve Corps is. We find that when we go to these presentations, a lot of folks don't know who we are and what we do. And so, Dee, how about you start with kind of talking about a little bit about what we do?
So we have a couple Medical Reserve Corps directors in the room, but does everyone in the room know what the MRC or the Medical Reserve Corps is? Please raise your hand if you do know. Okay, great. So about half the room is familiar. The Medical Reserve Corps, without a long history, was formed back after 9/11 in 2002, when the country realized we really needed a corps of medical providers as well as non-medical people, registered, background check, verified, credentialed in a system ready to go with the push of a button. So right now in the US, we have 300,000 volunteers in that position that are registered with the Medical Reserve Corps, and that's spread across 750 units in the US. In Vermont, what do we have? We have 8 units in Vermont with a total of about 800 to 1,000 volunteers. That number has been dropping since COVID because a lot of people come out of the woodwork during a health emergency like a pandemic, and our numbers went way up. Some of those folks go back to their normal jobs and don't stay in the Corps, but what we really try to do is keep those people in the Corps and keep them ready and prepared to respond for the next emergency.
And our big slogan is building strong, healthy, prepared communities. A lot of us are medical volunteers, but we also have lots of other volunteers. We have a lot of teachers, a lot of retired professionals in various fields. And so it's really a great group. And joining Medical Reserve Corps, you find a lot of friends that are very interested in a lot of the topics that you probably have been listening to today. And so we are basically coming out of COVID at this point and looking around at our communities and figuring out what kind of was laid bare during the COVID pandemic, and finding that there are a lot of gaps in our community that are being unfilled. And so our unit, especially in our MRCs across the country, but also our state, are looking to support our community when they're finding needs and gaps that are not being addressed. And so our unit, which kind of covers all of Bennington County, has been doing a lot of different types of support and gap filling. And that includes things like dental clinic pop-ups, which is on your left. We do a lot of training of all different types of nonprofits, municipalities. We do CPR trainings. There's a Stop the Bleed. Maybe Dee can point out some of these pictures. We do a lot of work in harm reduction and teaching folks how to use Narcan. And so a lot of different things that are happening. And we really, it's a ground up kind of thing. So we talk with our communities and try to figure out where they're having the hardest needs that aren't kind of being met by various other organizations, nonprofits. And we work with them and other nonprofits in the community to work to create things and see how they go. And so our dental pop-up clinics were very, very popular. We focused on a pediatric population and kind of proved the concept. And now they are happening all across the country and every state, working to try to help meet that need for our communities.
So you may be sitting here and thinking, well, I don't need to worry about oral health pop-up clinics, but what do you worry about? Do you worry about setting up a shelter in your town? Do you worry about getting volunteers to staff a long-term shelter? We have the Red Cross, we have wonderful partners. Don't forget about your Medical Reserve Corps that may be very close to your community as a potential source of volunteers, depending on what the emergency is. Shelter training is a really big one on a lot of people's minds. And most of our MRC members now, to be an active member, have to have shelter fundamentals and even the next level up if they want to work in a shelter.
And what that basically means for those of you who have not heard this, they are trained in kind of basic first aid skills, de-escalation tactics, and kind of just how to set up a shelter and make sure that it's running smoothly. And so there's lots of things that go into it.
So is this where we get to throw things out into the audience?
We can if you'd like to.
Because we know you're getting a little sleepy today at 3:45, so we might have chocolate up here. But I like to start with a question. So when we talk about Vermont and how to prepare for climate change, disasters, obviously floods are on everybody's mind. But a lot of other types of disasters are on people's mind. So I like to start by asking the group, excluding the two in the back, what happened in Vermont in 1816 that was weather related that caused a mass exodus in Vermont? Anybody? We have great treats. You might not have anyone in the room today.
Do we have a guess?
Earthquake.
No?
Here in the summer.
Close.
Oh, how about
Here in the summer. The volcano.
Oh.
all right? Here we go.
I think we should both get.
Yeah, I'm gonna come around.
So the year of 1816 was the year of Mount Tandora in Indonesia. And I'm not exactly sure it was 1815 when Tandora blew, but Tandora blew, and Vermont was not the only place in the world that didn't have a summer, but we had 2 winters back to back. People couldn't grow crops. They couldn't live. So we lost about 23% of the population in 1816. So I'd like to tell Vermonters who maybe don't even believe in climate change that climate change has been happening for hundreds of years. However you want to look at it, it's happening more now. And going forward, we need to prepare for it better. So towns are thinking about this. What's the first thing you do to assess your situation? Maybe a hazard mitigation plan. I know most of our towns now have local emergency management plans that start identifying what are your biggest hazards? How might you mitigate them? Who are the people you're going to call? We also know that our towns are struggling with these things. A lot of our towns don't know how to plan for heat or how to have a heat annex. So a lot of state employees, like our public health specialists, are really good at this. They're really good, as are our regional planning commissions, at coming in and helping you with these things, saying, let's look at your LEMP. Let's help you with a heat annex to add to this. Let us help you build that out. So I just want to stress there are people in state government as well as in our local offices that really can help our towns with these pieces.
Thanks.
Okay, so no region is immune to disasters. Everybody in the room, who here has experienced some type of natural disaster? Okay, pretty much all of us. Okay, so we can tell our communities to plan that there will be more natural disasters. And some of the things that you might not know about is Vermont Department of Health currently has a climatologist who's fabulous, Jared Omer, and he is a great resource that you can call on. They're producing a lot more pieces right now on our Department of Health website, as well as on the VEM website, that help guide you through how would I educate my community on heat and what they should do to plan for heat. Very simple steps that a lot of our communities could start using.
So we talk a lot about folks in emergencies and things like that. And in our town especially, we have been talking a lot about inequities in health. I think it's kind of just a lot of the big conversation in emergency management and health and the intersection of both of those things. And so just to kind of have a reminder of folks that are needing kind of more help and maybe a different type of plan than you might for others. And just kind of a list here of folks that might need some extra things in your annex about heat or other things, and really thinking about their access in emergencies. Are your town municipal emergency centers accessible to people that are using canes, walkers? Do you have a quiet space in kind of your shelters for folks that have needs where they need to have, or a sensory overload where they just need to have a quiet space, things like that. And really having a plan for that is really important. And you can put these into your annexes within your emergency local management and hazard mitigation plans. And the other thing that I talk about a lot as well, because we don't think about it until the emergency happens, is have you done the outreach before the emergency has happened to reach out to some of these groups? There are often trusted messengers that can help, and you know them in your community. They're the connectors that are out there doing this work day in and day out. Get them involved, put them into your emergency management plan, have their contact information so that when something happens, you can immediately call them and make sure that you're kind of looping everybody in on all of these.
So Martha and I, in the last couple of years doing a lot of this work, have realized that our senior population, even with Age Strong Vermont starting, is somewhat neglected in this area. So we decided to apply for a grant through the feds, and we got a small grant to focus on senior preparedness this year. We're having a lot of fun. We're going out to senior groups. We're educating them on what the heck is a go bag and why wouldn't I evacuate. But just look at the statistics, okay? Maybe not exact, but overall population of Vermont, senior population, you kind of get the gist, 1 in 3. Essex County, we believe, has the highest senior population, but more specifically, like, where are they living? So when you get down to the data, there's a lot of data out there. 48% of people 60 and over live alone. That just scared me reading that. 35% have limited social support. This one really got us going today. 34% of 60 to 69-year-olds have fallen in the last year. I was in that group. I fell this week. Like crazy, right? But you start thinking about all these issues that our older Vermonters are dealing with. We really need to make more of an effort to prepare them so they feel like they can do it, because Vermonters are very independent, but also that we give them the tools that they need.
So one of the things that we like to put up pictures in our documents. This is from one of our wonderful presentations with one of our nonprofits, Neighbor to Neighbor, who have seniors, helping seniors out in the community. And so we did a talk with all of their volunteers, as well as kind of some of the clients that they work with. And so up here we have one of the clients, and we had done kind of a go bag preparedness talk, which I think we kind of scared them, but in a good way, I hope, and started to kind of have them think, because many of them do live alone and they're living in giant old houses. You can imagine, you all live here in Vermont and they're up on a mountain and it's just on and on.
Oh, and they don't have a car.
And they don't have cars. That's right. Yeah, there's so many things that are happening. And so one of the things that this client is holding is a radio that we raffled off. Huge thing. If you can do giveaways at these things, really big tip. They're really fun. And this is a really cool radio. I think we got it from some box store, maybe Amazon.
20 bucks. And
it's $20. And it is a crank radio that has a flashlight. It has a radio, and it has power plugs for devices, like USB power devices. And it is incredible. And it was a huge hit. And just things like this, basic things that if you can get them out into folks that you know are some of your harder to reach populations, things like that.
5 cents a whistle, a plastic whistle, and they're incredibly loud. So this is our favorite giveaway, and people use them. I've had someone say they were on a lake and someone was drowning and they blew their red whistle and they got attention and they got help right away. So thank you.
So very,
Small things that you can promote to your community members that make a lot of difference. And we're going to get into a go bag here momentarily. Thank you.
All right. I think you're next.
Yes. So knowing your hazards,
Pulse them out. I'm gonna throw more candy.
yes.
It's not.
So let's get some involvement here. So thinking of your community, your town, thinking of what you think is your number one hazard going forward. Feel free to raise your hand.
Or shout it out.
Flooding.
Flooding.
I'm tossing candies. Be careful. Try not to be. Yeah. Somebody else.
Propane truck flying off the interstate.
Oh, great.
Ah,
That's
I didn't even thought of that one. Okay.
Anybody in the back? Let's get some folks in the back.
How long?
Prolong.
Prolonged. How about a 5-day? Let's just say a 5-day power outage. That would throw us for a bit of a loop.
Train derailment.
Train derailment. So you got a train track running through your community. Have you had a train derailment yet?
No.
Okay. Don't want,
Let's
but
not
you're
on
prepared
something.
for it if you
Yes.
do, right? Fabulous. A lot of what we do is we go out into the community and we say, are you ready? Yes, this is a FEMA tagline. FEMA actually has some good materials that are still free, that are still available. And one of our favorites is the Are You Ready workbook. Our seniors love this workbook. Anybody can order
Yes.
25 for free right now, just FYI. When they run out, they run out. You got to print it
Plans.
yourself.
It
But
talks about-
really nice because it's a very simple, straightforward way for someone to read, what do I need to think about going forward? Financial preparedness, insurance concerns, go bag, shelter in place, evacuation. So we tell people, please focus on going home and thinking about what your hazards are and what you have to be ready. And I like to use the community of Sandgate as an example. So we've been invited, we being the MRC, to go out and talk about preparedness. Sandgate, Vermont was one of our favorite communities because they got a small grant to focus on community preparedness. And then they invited us. And we came to their town hall 4 different times over 4 months. We did CPR training for 28 people. We did stop the bleed, traumatic bleeding. We did Narcan training. And we talked about what is a go bag. We spent 2 hours going through what you would put in a go bag. And they ate it up. And they were so excited by that, as were we, that they told others. And now we have a lot of our smallest, most rural towns like Stamford, Reedsboro, Paulette, calling us and saying, can you do that with us? So don't forget your local public health specialist and your local medical reserve corps as a really critical way to help you in your community.
So what we're gonna do, making a plan. And it kind of works on 2 different levels. There's the municipal level and then there's kind of the personal level. The MRC kind of has worked on both levels. We have really worked to try to educate our citizens on problems that come up when you have floods, when you have things like that. We have hosted really 5 very exciting go bag preparedness where we have folks come with a bag and then we go home with all sorts of paperwork and literature and things like that. We talk with municipalities about their operations center. Is it accessible? Things like that are really important. I talk a lot because I'm in a town that has very limited cell service. And it causes all sorts of issues when we are thinking about how we have folks planning to kind of get a conversation going. And so we don't have a town that has a warning system. We do have kind of a weird texting alert thing that we have kind of come up with on our own, but oftentimes the cell service goes out. And so then your phone is just a brick that doesn't help. And so I often talk, especially when you're thinking about municipalities, to test your plan, test it intermunicipally, because we are close by to all of our neighboring towns, and it's really important to think about. And and especially with the groups that are most vulnerable. And my parents are in their 80s. In the last 2 years, we finally got high-speed internet. Before that, we had DSL. My parents do not use computers. They barely use a cell phone, maybe. And so one of the things that we have worked really hard in our town to create is a literal landline phone tree. And so I know who in the community and what quadrant of the community they're in, so that when things happen, if one quadrant's out, I can get to 7 other people that then have a bunch of other folks that they can call. Oftentimes, these are your seniors, and they are very good at being tasked with something and then getting the word out. No doubt, all of these folks, they have a pulse on the town's everything. They're sitting at the transfer station waiting to hear all the news, and then it's at the town before you know it. We also have done a really good job of trying to come up with lists of contractors that have various equipment. I have a list of folks that have ATVs. If you remember, during Hurricane Irene, I was a park ranger for the state at the time. They had us out doing all sorts of things, trying to get things into Wilmington because all the roads were gone. I'm sure if you lived up here, Route 4 was a disaster. Folks with ATVs, things like that come in so handy. And if you have that list, you have their information, you know exactly where you've got to go, and you don't have the town operations center trying to figure it all out in the minute when you're having that emergency. So really good things to think about.
A side note, but you made me think of the MRC Humvee Brigade.
Oh,
that is a real thing in North Carolina where they
Yep.
put out an alert to anyone who owns a Humvee to sign up for the MRC, and then they will be used in times of emergency to get from point A to point.
There are others that if you live on water, there are other MRC units that have waterborne divisions. Thinking about animals as well. We live in a town that has more farms than people sometimes. And so making sure that you have plans for those things as well. We have a vet on our emergency MRC team so that we have those things kind of covered. But the more you can kind of think about all of these different things and kind of work with someone to kind of make the plans, and MRC folks often are really good about that.
So can it really, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Jackie.
Yes.
That's super great. So for those who couldn't hear in the back, the MRC also has ham radio operators. Every unit should have one of those. We do in ours. So another thing for kind of communication purposes, just to know and put in the back of your mind, especially if you're a municipal planner.
Couple quick tidbits we give out to seniors. Do not get rid of your landline. So if you can convince the seniors who haven't gotten rid of their landline to keep them, really encouraging that just because our cell phones often go down when there's a mass emergency. But really, we want to get into.
I'm going to put one more thing for things before. I was just thinking about this. So Vermont is really great as well. They have a lot of different apps that are out there. There is the River Aware app for flooding that has come up. Really great if you have cell phones. That's a really great one. For seniors specifically, there's the VT alert system, and then there's also the care system for folks that have medical needs that get shared with local emergency management and EMS providers. One of the things that we found is a real sticky wicket is that many seniors either have less literacy online and things, and they have moved entirely to online. We did call our group members that are working on these. And so maybe setting up a day, during your town fair or things to help people sign up for them. They are very underutilized. And if you look at the town numbers, really a lot of people should be on there, but are not. And it really helps in an emergency when we plan with EMS and our emergency preparedness folks to make sure that we get to people if they need electricity for oxygen or other kind of medical needs. And so really putting that thought to that as well is really important.
To give you a sense of the numbers, Bennington proper has 60 people, 68 now registered for care for Citizens Assistant Registry. And that most, I think, of any town in Vermont right now. Maybe Burlington's higher, but I know a lot of the public health specialists have been working on this, as well as some other local staff, VEM staff, planning staff, to try to let people know these registries exist and how to sign up. Sure.
I wanted to say a quick comment about landlines, just
Mhm.
going back to your point, which is that because so many seniors have still kept a landline, and because many of them didn't get a cell phone, we keep a landline in our EOC so that if somebody relocates to the cooling center on extreme heat days, they have a way, they're not carrying a cell phone in their pocket, so they can reach out to their relative and say, the reason I'm not at home is that I'm down here at the cooling center.
Oh, that's great. So
That
you
is
kept a
really
landline at your headquarters or your cooling center. Interesting. Very nice.
Something to think about for all our towns. The last thing I will say about
Can
making
I-
up, oh, yes,
Can I just
please.
add
Yeah,
something?
Of course.
to that About the landlines, make sure it's an analog line, not digital. Right?
yes, the
Yeah.
voice over the internet has been a real problem in some of our emergencies. So
Yeah.
that's definitely, yes.
Thank you.
The last thing I will say, especially if you are serving a municipality in any way, shape, or form, is to keep pushing your select boards, your town councils to make a budget
Thank you.
line item for preparedness and hazard mitigation. Because a lot of the things that come in when the state happens, you have to have a little bit of money for some of these grants and other things to help rebuild again. And from many talks with many of my fellow colleagues in various towns, many towns do not have that item, and then they come up short when the worst happens. And it's just one more thing to think about, but to push that, if you are standing before the select board, maybe at your town meeting, to say, these are things that are happening, they're coming more and more frequently in Vermont. These are things that can help us come back.
Yeah, that line item in the budget, I thought it was a very simple thing, but it actually really shifts people's way of thinking about emergencies. Like, oh, this is now in our purview. We have to think forward. But just having a line item for even $500 a year brings it up as a discussion point every year for budget, right? So strongly recommend. Oh, wow. That looks kind of fun.
We love our go bags. So we brought some of the things, like Dee was saying, we had a grant to go out and especially for seniors, do go bags and create go bags. Dee usually brings along her awesome wheeled suitcase, but didn't today. But we did bring a lot of things that we have created for the go bag. And certainly after the talk, you're welcome to come up, take things that might be helpful. We found that fun little magnet flashlights. You can put your own message on them. Helpful, you know, when everything goes out, they already have batteries in them. Dee already talked about our fun whistles.
FEMA just really does have some fun materials. They have a family emergency communications plan that fits in your wallet. I know it's tiny, you need a magnifying glass to read it, but these are free. We give them out at all our trainings and people love them.
We love a good checklist. So we have a go bag checklist that we hand out when we do our go bag talks.
VEM has had these great little family emergency preparedness booklets, which are huge hits. I think we're running out, but these are really well received.
We talk a lot about our furry friends. They have checklists for animals that are on both sides.
Martha helps me understand that people are very visual and pictures speak 1,000 words. So instead of only giving them a list, thinking about different needs and access, we give out pictures now as well. And a lot of people appreciate that.
As a medical person, and I specialize in geriatrics, I talk a lot about making sure you have a medical kit ready to go. We have a lot of interesting medical information sheets. If folks are not able to kind of advocate for themselves or know things, everybody should have one, not just seniors. It's amazing to me how many folks do not know what they're taking, but things like that. And having emergency contact information, especially for folks that are outside of the region. Many adults and seniors have children that are living out of state. And because we have become so reliant on our cell phones now, most of us don't know our kids' cell phone numbers. And so we just click one or we speak it into Siri or Alexa. So having it written down somewhere is super helpful. Having paper is sometimes really great. One of our communities created their own kind of resource. And so this is just up here. It has a whole bunch of different preparedness information. It has information about where to go if things are happening. It has a med sheet. I'm trying to remember what else. It has a lot of the information about the alert systems, sheltering in place. Might be something that you might want to think about for your communities or your nonprofits, especially if you're working with folks that do have different needs, but lots of different things that you can do for creating a go bag. I'm sorry.
And just because we have a few things on the table that are also preparedness. So we do a lot of medical training. We do, as we mentioned, a lot of Stop the Bleed and a lot of CPR training. So one of the things we do through grants is we give out traumatic bleeding kits. Every school in Bennington County, all the public ones have been trained except one now. Their staff have been trained and they have kits for every 20 kids in their schools that were given for free through a federal grant that the State Department of Health got called the Strong Grant. That's huge when you think about that. None of those schools had been trained in traumatic bleeding. They have one nurse on staff maybe who understood that. Now, most of the staff in the schools have been trained in traumatic bleeding control.
We also, all of our schools in our area, and I think most of the schools throughout the state also, how to be bright at night campaign. These are little reflectors that go on your coats or other things to make sure that as the season change and the time change happens, you are visible at night to as a pedestrian or a cyclist to cars, and hopefully helping to prevent accidents
And deaths.
and death.
Actually, the big push for that was to get one in every 3rd to 5th grader's hand. So if you haven't seen that in your district, call your local health office, see if you can get some for your schools. Yes. So where are we at, Martha? Who here has a go bag packed at home?
Okay,
Okay,
half the
got
room.
10 people. Is there any unique item you have in your go bag we haven't mentioned that you think everybody should have? Cell phone charger, very important. Laura?
Games to keep my kids busy.
Games for the kids.
Something else I just want to mention on the Go Kids.
Yep.
For, you know, our third generation, is that not only are these go bags helpful in an emergency when you are evacuating, but also when you are being taken to a hospital.
Yes.
So take into consideration maybe some other things that you want to put in there. Say like a book or a few magazines to keep yourself, you know, active, you know, crosswords, that sort of thing. Because those will come in handy potentially if you're in the hospital for a while.
Very good.
Yeah.
I see two things that are not on there that I would imagine would be helpful. One is having your 3-day supply of medication.
Yep.
And the second is money.
Yes.
I don't see money.
Cash. Cash is useful, believe it or not, today.
Yeah, cash money.
Very useful in an emergency.
Well, if you're going, there's potential that where you're headed has no power as well. So having a phone charger and battery bank is all well and good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a solar charger,
Yep.
charge that battery bank.
Or the crank ones,
Careful.
yeah, anything like that,
Yeah.
especially in shelters, a lot of the plugs are getting used by everybody, and so
They're
you
cheap.
can only, yes, there are, and you can get them anywhere, so really important.
And strange things people don't think about, like if you packed canned goods in your go bag and you don't have a can opener. So
Multi-tool.
multi-tools are
Yes.
really nice too, to put in those go bags.
So, that's kind of the end of our presentation. Certainly, we'd like to say, reach out to your MRC, reach out to your planning commissions. Anybody, we're here, we're ready to stand helping you folks. We love to be volunteering. We love to be out in the communities. We love working with other nonprofits. We do a lot of different trainings. Every MRC is a little different. Our unit really works very hard to kind of get out and doing CPR and other things, but they all kind of have things that they are known for. So reaching out to your local health office will help you with that. And so thank you so much. We'll take questions and then
Any questions?
our info is up there. Feel free to come talk to us after. We love
And
chatting.
grab some goodies.
Yes.
The
Thank you.
chocolates. Thank you, everyone, for paying attention at the end of the day.
So question. So,
Does all of them include MRC now?
We have 8 units statewide, so thank you. We have 8 units statewide. And they're geographically positioned around the state. In South Vermont, we have 2 units, a southeast and a southwest, and then the other 6 are kind of geographically located.
And getting to them is through your local health office, and they should be able to get you to the right person. Yes.
And that covers all of them. There's no gaps where.
No gaps.
At this moment in time, yes, things are always changing in the landscape of Vermont, but
And federal funding.
we really try to make sure that there are people, and the volunteers do truly come from all over, and many of them, I think 80% of our unit is medically trained folks, so.
Questions? Any questions?
When you say local health office, what does that mean?
Oh, I love that. You go for that one, Dee.
Okay, so Vermont's a little different, centralized government. We don't have county government here. So what we have is 12 district health offices, different than AHS, Human Services and all that. We just have health offices in 12 districts. So every county basically has a health office, and they're usually located in the seat of the county if possible. But for example, Bennington, Brattleboro, Rutland, Middlebury, Springfield, White River, those are, all the way up to state. Each county has a health office. But if you reach out to me, I can give you a list of all of them. That'd be helpful.
Do we have anybody online that had questions, anything? Okay, I wanted to make sure. Thank you for bearing, this is the thing. Thanks for bearing with us on this one. Great. Well, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you coming,
Yes.
learning all of this, and certainly feel free to come up and grab things as you need them or take pictures.
Thank you for all you do.